Taiwan's government says China has triggered panic as an incident with the Chinese Coast Guard near the islands of Kinmen becomes the latest flashpoint as tensions between Beijing and Taipei continue to rise.
Taiwan's missing submariners spark worries over military safety. Real wages see their biggest drop in years. Plus, a Chinese plane steals the show in Singapore. Hello, and thanks for joining us this evening on TaiwanPlus News. I'm Eric Gao. The head of Taiwan's Ocean Affairs Council has accused China of stoking panic after its Coast Guard intercepted and boarded a Taiwan tourist boat. Rick Laut reports on how the islands of Kinmen have become a flashpoint in rising cross-strait tensions.
56-year-old Liu Wenxiong has been fishing the waters of Taiwan's Kinmen Islands for 3 decades. But today, he chose to stay far from China's maritime border. China Coast Guard ships lurk a few nautical miles from here and have been intercepting Taiwanese vessels. It's all part of a rapidly worsening spat between Taiwan and China, which claims Taiwan as part of its territory.
两岸可以讲，可以谈，就不要动武啊！不要这事情发生了要去解决，要去看怎么样把它言和，不要害死这些百姓出来去心惊胆跳的。
Just a day before, China Coast Guard intercepted and boarded a Taiwan tourist boat. They spent half an hour checking the crew's documents before letting the boat go. Those on board feared they could be taken to China.
登检这一艘船，对象我们认为是伤害了我们的人民的感情，制造人民的恐慌。
This is all in response to the death of 2 Chinese nationals near Kinmen. Their speedboat capsized as Taiwan Coast Guard chased them out of territorial waters. But it also comes as Beijing increases pressure on the self-ruled island nation to submit to Chinese rule, sending military boats and planes into areas around Taiwan, making the Kinmen Islands particularly vulnerable. These islands of just over 100,000 people are hundreds of kilometers from Taiwan's capital, Taipei, but they're just a short ferry ride from the Chinese city of Xiamen. The people here have long had strong economic and personal links with China. These ties are now at risk as these islands find themselves at the center of an escalating geopolitical situation. People here make a living selling the fish they catch directly to the Chinese market and through tourism geared towards welcoming Chinese visitors. This, despite the fact there has been no government-level communication between Taipei and Beijing in years. When tensions rise like this, the people of Kinmen feel helpless.
总要想办法解决吧。对呀，不能够说你们两个在那边吵架好啊，结果我们很比较倒霉哈，讲一个比较不好听的，叫好像说出气出在这个岛屿的人民的身上。
There are now fears that by exerting its authority in these waters, Beijing is trying to create a new normal that shrinks Taiwan's space. And it's the people here in Kinmen who are most feeling that pressure. Their daily lives are at the mercy of China's determination to change a delicate but long-established status quo. Kama Xu, Pichi Zhuang and Rick Laut in Kinmen for TaiwanPlus.
With the dispute around Kinmen, Taiwan officials are trying to reduce tensions with China. Tiffany Wang reports.
Taiwan's officials are trying to navigate some tough diplomatic waters and keep the peace as they address increasing tensions in the Taiwan Strait. Their efforts come as both Taiwanese and Chinese officials gather on Taiwan's outlying Kinmen Islands, just off the coast of southern China. The activity comes after China's Coast Guard intercepted a Taiwanese tourist boat. Taiwan's officials say the move caused panic and threatens peace in the strait.
基于海峡的和平，基于两岸之间的善意，登检这样的船，我们表示遗憾。
The boarding followed an incident last week in which Taiwan's Coast Guard chased a speedboat carrying 4 Chinese nationals. Taiwan says the vessel was in its territorial waters. The pursuit ended in the death of 2 people on the Chinese boat. A Chinese official is visiting Kinmen to assist the families of the dead as they collect their bodies and help the 2 survivors return home.
我们此行来金门，就是要了解事实真相，协助家属善后。我们要求台湾有关方面认真对待家属的正当关切。
Taiwan's defense minister says they are monitoring the situation, but stressed the importance of maintaining peace.
我们本身就是为了避免战争啊，不会主动介入，因为介入的话会升高冲突啊，我们不乐见。
China's Coast Guard frequently crosses into Taiwan's waters, saying it's conducting regular drills. But incidents like these involving ordinary civilians are rare. Taipei is working to increase its national defenses in the face of warnings and threats from Beijing. But one wrong step on either side could turn words into actions. Justin Wu and Tiffany Wong for TaiwanPlus.
Taiwan's Navy has blamed the loss of 3 of its submariners late last year on a combination of environmental and equipment factors, not human error. But not everyone is convinced by that explanation. Our reporter Jeremy Olivier has more.
These are Taiwanese submariners. They're seen as a critical part of the country's maritime defense, especially as China ramps up its military activity in the waters around Taiwan. But their capacity to fulfill that role has been called into question when last December, 3 crew members aboard Taiwan's aging Haihu submarine were swept off its deck and out into the ocean. They were never located, despite intense search and rescue efforts, and a former Navy official blamed the submarine's captain for the loss of the men. An accusation that prompted a response from the Navy, which just released a statement on its investigation into the incident. It says the missing crew members were sent out to the deck to retrieve a safety buoy that had come loose. They were wearing safety harnesses and tethers, but the Navy says this equipment had been damaged by the weather. A sudden swell then took them overboard. It says human error was not to blame. But not everyone has accepted that explanation. Members of the main opposition party say the Navy's statement is unfair to the families of the missing crew members.
军方事后的补救是增购设备，但是社会上最关注的是在事发的时候决策判断有没有错误，标准程序有没有需要改进的地方，但军方却没有让社会看到这方面的检讨。
There were also questions as to whether the captain made a mistake in ordering the men out on the deck in the first place. Some analysts say that although the safety buoy is important for submarines, other ships can be asked to help out when the weather turns bad.
这个甲板其实并不是那么，因为它上面有一个曲度嘛，那其实那个对于人员来说，那并不是那么好站立，尤其是如果你海况这个比较这个差的情况，那我觉得那时候可能就不要太急于说做这个装备回收这样子的问题。
This is just the latest in a growing list of high-profile incidents in Taiwan's military. Several accidents involving military hardware last year even resulted in death or serious injury. It's raised concerns about the military's track record on safety and whether it's doing enough to protect its troops and civilians.
但是当然，国军其实还是可以在各装，还有包含在民事或者说安全上面来说，能够有更多的更精进的作为。这种更精进的作为能够增加的话，我相信未来类似的这样一个纠纷或是遗憾会更少。
Taiwan has only recently begun investing more heavily in its armed forces, increasing its defense budget and extending mandatory military service for young men. But as unfortunate incidents keep happening, many are wondering if safety needs to be a higher priority for the military. Howard Zhang and Jeremy Olivier for TaiwanPlus.
Cambodia's Prime Minister Hun Manet has issued a warning to anyone who could follow in the footsteps of 2 Taiwanese influencers who faked a kidnapping, only to be found out and thrown in jail.
ហើយសូមពមៀនដល់អ្នកផ្សេងទៀតដែលយកប្រទេសកម្ពុជាធ្វើជាកន្លែងអាជីវកម្មដើម្បីបាន view បានអីរូបភាពបែបនេះណាគឺនឹងអនុវត្តច្បាប់ឲ្យមើងម៉ាត់អនុវត្តជាប់គុក2 ឆ្នាំហើយចេញទៅបដិញចេញពីប្រទេសឲ្យ blacklist ឈប់ឲ្យចូលស្រុកខ្មែរមួយជីវិត
The 2-year jail term Manet was referring to was the sentence handed to the Taiwanese live streamers. Manet was speaking at the opening of a Chinese-funded bridge construction project. Taiwan's semiconductor sector could do even better than previously expected this year. According to the Industrial Technology Research Institute, the sector's production value is projected to reach $160 billion in 2024, a record high. The figure is up from the institute's $151 billion forecast from last November. The institute says demand for AI and high-performance computing applications is behind the optimistic prediction. Real wages in Taiwan slumped by just over 1% last year, the biggest drop in over a decade. With the price of goods continuing to rise, Sally Jensen looks at how people are taking this news.
Shopping for some popular food items in Taiwan. But for many, the price of basic goods here is becoming unaffordable.
就是买东西还是会有点感觉到，就是东西有在涨，但是比如说像之前那个蛋价涨了之后就没有再掉回去过了。
钱变薄了，对，钱变薄了。
那你会改变你在买什么东西，还是？
就是外食可能就会想要减少外食的机会这样子。
有觉得外面的那个餐厅吃饭变蛮贵的，然后菜其实有稍微涨价，所以如果是领基本工资的话，我觉得是应该生活会蛮困难的。
The unit price of this popular brand of root beer is set to increase by around 25%. And while food items getting more expensive is a trend being seen around the world, here in Taiwan, real wages have not kept up with price increases. On Monday, the country's Budget and Statistics Office announced last year's monthly wage figures for the industrial and service sectors, together the biggest employers in Taiwan. Real earnings for both regular wages and non-regular wages, such as part-time pay and bonuses, totaled around $1,695 in 2023, down 1.04% from the previous year, the first decline in 7 years and the largest in 11. That's while the country saw its consumer price index rise 2.5% year on year, the second highest in 15 years. Rapid increase in food prices have been one of the main drivers of inflation around the world in the last few years. And that's in line with what the government here in Taiwan is saying.
那这个部分呢，最主要当然是受到全球经济因素的影响，还有同期物价因素的影响。
Salary adjustment statistics set to be released in May will show whether employers are raising wages in line with price increases. Seeing wages bounce back and consumer prices moderate will be on many shoppers' wish list. Scott Huang and Sally Jensen for TaiwanPlus.
It's not just the price of goods. Housing prices here in Taiwan are skyrocketing. So young people are increasingly relying on inheritance to become a homeowner, while those looking to buy are left in the lurch. Tiffany Wong reports.
Buying a house in Taiwan. This dream is rapidly becoming a fantasy for many young people as housing becomes more expensive and harder to find.
房价涨得太快了，台北买不下去就会去往新北啊、桃园啊，这个是没有争议的，就大部分人都是这样子。
头期款的部分对年轻人的压力还蛮大的。
Taiwan's housing price-to-income ratio reached a record high in the third quarter of 2023, according to the latest government figures. That means that salaries are failing to match the rising cost of housing. Of all the properties that got new owners last year, the number of those that were transferred through inheritance reached an all-time high.
长辈呢，普遍都倾向于留房养老，而不是养儿防老。那房子呢，都非得等到过世之后才会给下一代的继承人给继承。
As people are increasingly holding onto their homes to pass down to their children in the longer term, those hoping to buy into Taiwan's housing market are finding both their options and their wallets squeezed. Patrick Chen and Tiffany Wong for TaiwanPlus.
It's a great time to be a bookworm in Taipei as the International Book Exhibition has kicked off with the Netherlands as the guest of honor. The annual event is spotlighting Dutch authors this year, highlighting Taiwan's complex historic relationship with the Netherlands, which colonized Taiwan in the 17th century. President Tsai Ing-wen attended the opening ceremony alongside representatives from the Dutch delegation. They say the exhibition is an opportunity to confront their colonial history.
The Netherlands' presence in Taiwan was a part of my country's colonial history, and increasingly we acknowledge the dark sides of this period as well. Today we want to come to terms with our historical responsibilities.
Coming up, find out how a care center is helping seniors stay active. Stay with us.
经历过人生的话，你发现说我们大部分都是爱美的。
我自己少遇见一朵花，我可能就不是这个样子。
开始思考什么叫做一个本土性，
大声的唱出来说我是台湾人。
There's so many things that I wish the world could see.
It is amazing to watch this captain maneuver this giant ship.
It takes 3 days to cook this. The flavor is unbelievable, incredible.
And it's my turn to make something inspired by Chef Gore. It's going to be quite a challenge.
Can you imagine that?
It's surreal. Yes, so real.
I can't give up. I got some ass kicking to do. Nice move.
We're pushing each other to explore and experiment in new, different ways.
5, 4, 3, 2.
A warm welcome to TaiwanPlus News.
Exploring the issues that matter to you.
Not just to Taiwan, the whole world is watching.
很多时候是我们眼睛看不到的地方。
We might encounter mishaps and mistakes along the way. But at the end of the day,
it just transmits something straight from the heart. Yes.
Cheers.
Bon appetit. It is about the fun and it's about the glamour and it's also about something much deeper than that.
Sometimes you just gotta seize the opportunity. You just gotta do it.
Have a place where you're appreciated for you exactly as you are, and where you can shine and be seen.
Welcome back. You're watching TaiwanPlus News. China's challenger to Airbus and Boeing's passenger jets has taken center stage at the Singapore Airshow. Jaime Ocon is in Singapore with the details.
After more than 4 years, Asia's largest defense and aviation expo, the Singapore Airshow, is back in full swing. Now, this event was long postponed due to COVID pandemic restrictions, but now dozens of aircraft are back here on display. Everything from helicopters to private jets to military aircraft and even commercial airliners. Now, the goal of the air show is to showcase the latest developments in aviation and defense. And for the first time, China is showing off its latest tech. Front and center at the expo is the C919, China's first indigenously developed narrow-body aircraft. Those are the most common types of airplanes used for commercial flights. Representatives from China are declining to talk to the media about the C919 at this event. But other countries like the US are trying to show off their advancements in defense tech and attract potential partnerships as they make up for years without a show here.
We're really excited to be here in Singapore. I wasn't able to come obviously during COVID, as many people, and now that we're all back and going to shows like this and working with many countries and many other folks around the Asia-Pacific area.
The expo is set to last for 5 days. Industry leaders here are looking forward to catching up in the latest developments of military tech and aviation. But many people here are just happy to see their favorite planes take to the sky back again. Chris Ma and Jaime Ocon in Singapore for TaiwanPlus.
A landslide triggered by heavy rain and snowfall has killed at least 25 people in eastern Afghanistan. Local officials in Nuristan province say at least 20 homes have been partially or fully destroyed. Several people are still missing. Rescue efforts have been hampered by snow blocking roads and stopping helicopters from landing. Football star Lionel Messi has issued a video apology to fans over his absence in a recent friendly match in Hong Kong. The Argentinian reiterated he was unable to play due to an injury.
Como todos saben, siempre quiero jugar y quiero estar en todos los partidos. Escuché que no había querido jugar por temas políticos y muchas otras cosas que no tienen nada que ver.
The video apology came after Messi's no-show at the sold-out game in early February, sparking significant backlash among fans and Chinese authorities. That anger ramped up when the star played as a substitute in Tokyo just a few days later. prompting China to cancel 2 football games involving Argentina's national team. South Korea's health ministry is urging trainee doctors to return to work after a mass resignation.
여러분의 자리로 돌아가 주시기 바랍니다. 함께 의료 현장의 문제를 해결해 나가기를 촉구합니다.
It comes after trainee doctors left their posts in protest over government plans to almost double the acceptance rate of medical students. Health officials say the walkout has already affected medical procedures, and hospitals are working to change surgery schedules and appointments. Taiwan has the highest rate of blood donations in the world, but hospitals are still seeing shortages. Harrell Hughes reports.
A short line, quick pinch, and a little squeeze. This blood drive event in Taiwan is popular among donors because after giving blood, they receive a whole duck. Taiwan is the highest rate of blood donations in the world, and events like these, with special giveaways, are a big contributing factor. But Taiwan's hospitals are still facing blood shortages, due in part to Taiwan's aging population.
65岁以前捐血小板可以2个礼拜捐1次，那65岁以后，就只能4个礼拜才能捐1次的。
Another problem is the rate at which supplies here are depleted. Hospitals transfuse up to 4 times more blood than hospitals in the U.S. And with Taiwan's population rapidly aging out of blood donating age, health experts are worried. They say all these problems will be compounded by 2027.
捐血我们有年龄的限制嘛，17岁到65岁。那我们这些忠诚的捐血人啦，其实到了65岁，可能他就没有办法再捐。20年前，我们大概小于20岁的人可以捐到35万人次，那今年大概只剩下10万。
Taiwan's government is working to address the shortage for the long term, but in the meantime, blood drives with special incentives will have to carry the weight. Andy Shui and Harrell Hughes for TaiwanPlus.
A care center in rural Taiwan is helping the country's rapidly aging population live happy, active lives. John Van Trieste takes a look.
It's exercise time at this new senior care center in rural Yunlin County. Up to 48 seniors from the area can get assistance here during the day, and even more can join its activities for a bit of company. There's even pickup service.
我这做用品哦，佢家头那拢分流啊，大呀，会载8点20分人去甲载来，来个这车要9点半。
The newly opened center is already making a difference in people's lives. Taiwan has the second lowest birth rate in the world and a rapidly aging population. The trend's effects are on full display in Taiwan's rural center. In 2022, Yunlin County had the lowest number of births in the country. Despite this, elderly care options in the county remain limited. This new center helps solve these problems in the 3 rural townships it serves. It aims to keep those who come here as active as possible and provide engaging activities like art projects.
他们能够就是手部灵活，然后脑就是可以动一下脑。 因为我们像包括我们的颜色上面啊，他们因为有些时候也视力会退化，所以我们会利用颜色上刺激他们的视力。
The center has also brought new life to a disused historic building.
后来就这个地方就比较没有在使用。那时候我跟他们的家人，然后在洽谈，就是说希望这个地方可以提供一个很好的一个环境给地方上的长辈。
It's a vision for what other parts of Taiwan can do to keep their aging populations living active, healthy, and fulfilling lives. Delphine Chen and John Van Trieste for TaiwanPlus.
Taiwan's known for its lush subtropical jungles, but native plant species are being squeezed out by invasive ones, planted by people. One national park has brought in volunteers to fight back. These princess vines look beautiful, with their aerial roots swaying and glistening in the sunlight. But this plant is not native to Taiwan, and it's spreading rapidly.
因为土被它抢了，阳光被它抢了，什么都没有，所以这些植物就没有办法再生长出来。
A recent report says the princess vine is just one of some 380 invasive species found in Kaohsiung Sosan National Nature Park. That's a huge amount compared to the 500 native species there. And these foreign plants were brought in by people.
像柴山有什么里长休息区，有秘密花园啊，有这2个地方。那这个都其实就是民众拿家里的植物来种的。
These invasive species have spread rapidly over the past few years, so the park has called for volunteers to help halt that spread.
如果我们现在不开始控制它的数量的话，那未来可能会很严重，可能会到整个林下通都慢慢都是它。
It's not just plants being crowded out by the newcomers. Many native insect species rely on indigenous flora to survive. So if the native plants go, so do the bugs. Conservationists are calling on people to stop planting foreign species, to leave room for native species to thrive. A species of migratory bird has made a rare winter stop-off in northern Taiwan. It's been 15 years since the country last saw a black and yellow ruddy shelduck. Taiwan isn't on the usual flight path for this bird, which is found across Europe and mainland Asia. The shelduck was spotted by a creek near Taoyuan International Airport, where many other migratory birds overwinter. Thanks again for joining us here on Taiwan Plus News. Visit our website or follow us on social media to get more of our reports. And before we sign off, we take you to the biggest carnival in Switzerland, with costumed revelers taking to the streets to the sounds of pipes and drums. I'm Eric Gao, and I'll see you tomorrow.